In the late 1990s and early 2000s, a series of mysterious deaths occurred across the Midwest of the United States. Young men in their early 20s were found drowned in bodies of water, often under suspicious circumstances. What made these cases even more unsettling was the strange pattern emerging from the investigations. Many of the victims had been seen drinking at bars or parties before their deaths and then disappeared. The cases seemed to have little in common at first glance, but a disturbing detail began to emerge. In several instances, near the scenes where the bodies were discovered, investigators found graffiti of a smiling face, often with a grotesque, mocking expression. This led some to speculate that the deaths were linked and that a group of killers, dubbed the Smiley Face Killers, might be responsible. The theory was that these men were targeted by a sinister group who used the smiley face graffiti as a calling card or a taunting signature. Over time, the theory gained traction, with some investigators claiming that the smiley face appeared near at least 45 cases, though not all were deemed directly linked to foul play. The phenomenon seemed to represent a chilling pattern of premeditated violence and macabre celebration. The cases were deeply disturbing not only because of the potential for serial murder but also because of the eerie and mocking nature of the smiley face symbols left behind. Despite the ongoing investigations and theories, no definitive proof was found linking the deaths to a coordinated group of killers, and many of the cases remain unsolved. The idea that a group might be using a seemingly innocent symbol to mark their crimes adds an extra layer of horror. The possibility that such malicious acts could be hidden behind something as innocuous as a smiley face is what makes this story so unnerving. As the years passed, the mystery of the smiley face killers continued to captivate and terrify. Despite numerous investigations, no concrete evidence was ever found linking the graffiti to a specific group or individual responsible for the deaths. Theories abounded, with some suggesting that the graffiti was the work of a single killer or a small group acting together, while others speculated that the smiley faces were mere coincidences or the work of copycats who wanted to capitalize on the fear surrounding the original cases. In 2008, the case took another eerie turn when a documentary filmmaker, fascinated by the mystery, decided to investigate further. The filmmaker, whose interest had been piqued by the unsettling nature of the graffiti and the sheer number of cases, set out to uncover the truth behind the smiley faces. As part of the investigation, they interviewed families of the victims, local law enforcement, and even spoke with former members of the FBI who had been involved in the case. During their research, the filmmaker uncovered unsettling new information. They found evidence of more recent deaths that seemed to fit the pattern. Young men disappearing after nights out, only to be found drowned in bodies of water. Each new case bore the same disturbing signature: a smiley face graffiti near the scene. This revelation reignited fears that the original theory might have been correct, and that the smiley face killers were still active. The filmmaker's investigation also brought to light disturbing rumors of a secretive subculture that was rumored to be involved in the killings. According to some sources, this group was said to have a fascination with dark rituals and had used the smiley face symbol as a way to mock law enforcement and taunt the families of the victims. Although these rumors were never substantiated, they added another layer of horror to the already chilling mystery. In the meantime, the families of the victims continued to seek closure. Many of them held out hope that the truth would eventually be revealed. But as the years went by, they struggled with the uncertainty and the haunting possibility that the killers might never be caught. The image of the smiley face, once a symbol of innocence, had become a grim reminder of the unsolved murders and the eerie possibility that there were predators lurking in the shadows. Despite various attempts by law enforcement and independent investigators to crack the case, the smiley face killer mystery remains unresolved. The combination of real disappearances, the chilling nature of the smiley face graffiti, and the persistent rumors of a hidden subculture keeps the fear alive. The story serves as a haunting reminder of the dark side of human nature and the unsettling reality that sometimes the true nature of evil remains shrouded in mystery. In the years following the renewed interest in the smiley face killer case, investigators and researchers continued to uncover unsettling developments. The 2010s saw a surge in public and media interest, with podcasts, books, and documentaries shedding light on the mystery and drawing in new theories and suspects. One particularly unsettling discovery came from a journalist who was investigating the case for a true crime series. They stumbled upon a series of old, anonymous letters sent to various law enforcement agencies across the Midwest. These letters, postmarked from different cities and dated over several years, were disturbing. They contained cryptic messages and drawings of smiley faces along with references to specific unsolved cases. The letters seemed to taunt authorities, suggesting that the sender had intimate knowledge of the crimes and enjoyed evading capture. In 2014, a breakthrough occurred when a retired detective, previously uninvolved in the case, came forward with a disturbing theory. The detective, who had worked on similar cases, proposed that the killings might be the work of an organized network rather than a single group or individual. According to his theory, the network could have members operating independently but coordinated through clandestine means. This theory suggested that the smiley face graffiti was a way for members to communicate and brag about their crimes. The retired detective's theory gained traction and led to new investigative efforts. Law enforcement agencies collaborated more closely, sharing information and resources in hopes of making a breakthrough. They revisited old cases, re-examined evidence, and interviewed potential witnesses once more. In 2017, a breakthrough occurred that added a new layer to the mystery. Investigators discovered a previously unknown connection between some of the victims. A few had worked in similar industries or frequented the same bars and nightclubs. This revelation suggested that the victims might have been targeted based on their social circles, adding a chilling dimension to the theory that the killers were familiar with their victims' routines and locations. Meanwhile, the families of the victims continued to struggle with their grief and the lack of closure. For many, the public attention brought both hope and frustration. They wanted answers but also feared that the case might fade into obscurity. Annual vigils and memorials were held to keep the victims' memories alive and to advocate for continued efforts to solve the case. In 2020, the FBI took the unusual step of publicly seeking the help of the general public through a high-profile campaign. They released a series of age-progressed photos of the victims and renewed appeals for information, hoping that new technology and social media might yield fresh leads. The campaign generated a flurry of tips, but none of the leads resulted in concrete evidence. The mystery of the smiley face killers remains unresolved, with many questions still unanswered. The combination of the disturbing smiley face graffiti, the pattern of disappearances and drownings, and the persistent rumors of a hidden network contribute to an ongoing atmosphere of fear and speculation. For the families and investigators, the case is a painful reminder of the dark possibilities that lurk in the shadows and the ongoing struggle for justice in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. As the years go by, the case continues to haunt those who have followed it, with the smiley face symbol forever tainted by its association with unexplained violence and mystery. The story serves as a chilling testament to the unknown and the unsettling possibility that some mysteries may never be fully solved. By 2023, the smiley face killer mystery had become a dark legend in the world of unsolved crimes. Despite years of investigation and public attention, the case remained shrouded in ambiguity. The smiley face graffiti continued to appear near bodies of water where young men were found drowned, but the connection between these symbols and the mysterious deaths remained elusive. In early 2022, a new twist emerged when a group of amateur sleuths, drawn together by their shared fascination with the case, discovered a series of disturbing online forums and encrypted messages. These forums, hidden deep within the dark web, appeared to contain discussions about the very crimes that had puzzled investigators for years. The conversations, while cryptic, seemed to imply that there was a secret society or a network that was involved in the drownings. The amateur sleuths uncovered a particularly chilling thread where users discussed the smiley face graffiti in detail. Some posts included photos of smiley face symbols near various crime scenes and mentioned specific details about the victims. The discussions seemed to suggest a form of dark ritualism or twisted game, with the smiley faces serving as a macabre marker for their accomplishments. The group brought their findings to the attention of law enforcement, which led to a renewed investigation. The FBI and local authorities coordinated to trace the digital breadcrumbs left by the users of these forums. However, Their efforts to identify and apprehend those behind the online activity were met with challenges, as the digital trails were carefully obscured and often led to dead ends. In a disturbing development in late 2023, a series of new drownings occurred that bore similarities to the original cases. The new victims were found with smiley face graffiti near the scenes, but there was something different this time. The graffiti appeared to be more elaborate and sinister, with additional symbols and messages that seemed to mock the investigators and the victims' families. This raised the frightening possibility that the network behind the killings might still be active or that new individuals had adopted their disturbing practices. The resurgence of the killings led to a renewed sense of urgency among investigators and the public. Law enforcement agencies launched a new wave of outreach, utilizing advanced technology such as facial recognition and AI-driven analysis to try and identify any patterns or suspects connected to the recent incidents. They also increased their efforts to engage with the public, encouraging anyone with information or leads to come forward. Despite these efforts, the case remained stubbornly unresolved. The families of the victims continued to suffer from the lack of closure, holding on to hope that justice might one day be served. They organized public events, including memorials and fundraisers, to keep the memory of their loved ones alive and to support ongoing investigative efforts. In parallel, the dark web forums continued to buzz with activity, with some users seemingly fascinated by the attention their discussions were generating. The presence of these forums added an eerie layer to the case, suggesting that there were individuals who took pleasure in the mystery and the fear it generated. As of now, the mystery of the smiley face killers remains open, with the case continuing to captivate and disturb those who follow it. The persistence of the graffiti, the chilling online discussions, and the recent resurgence of similar crimes have all contributed to an atmosphere of unease and uncertainty. The story serves as a haunting reminder of the dark and enigmatic side of human nature, and the unsettling possibility that some secrets may never be fully uncovered. In early 2024, a breakthrough came unexpectedly. A private investigator named Claire Dawson, who had been independently researching the smiley face killer case for years, discovered a crucial piece of evidence. Claire, who had a reputation for solving cold cases, had been combing through old records and following up on obscure leads when she stumbled upon an old, unreported lead that had been overlooked for decades. While reviewing archives from the late 1990s, Claire found a series of photographs from a local art gallery's opening night, taken by a freelance photographer who had since vanished under mysterious circumstances. The photos, initially considered mundane, featured a particular piece of art that stood out: an abstract painting with a distorted smiley face. What made it eerie was the fact that the painting was signed with a name that matched a person of interest previously connected to the case but never pursued further. Claire tracked down the artist's former associates and discovered that the artist, a reclusive figure named Richard Green, had been known for his dark and unsettling work. Richard had disappeared shortly after the opening, leaving behind a trail of strange and cryptic messages in his personal journals. These messages, when decoded, seemed to outline a series of rituals and references to the smiley face symbol, which made Claire suspect a deeper, ritualistic connection to the drownings. With this new lead, Claire approached the FBI and presented her findings. The case was reopened with renewed vigor, and investigators began to explore Richard Green's background and connections more thoroughly. They discovered that Richard had been associated with a network of individuals who had a fascination with occult practices and secret societies. This network had reportedly held secret meetings and engaged in disturbing rituals, which seemed to align with the sinister elements associated with the smiley face graffiti. The investigation revealed that Richard Green had previously attended underground gatherings where dark symbolism and ritualistic behavior were prevalent. The FBI discovered that some of the victims had also been seen at similar gatherings or had connections with people involved in these secretive circles. It became apparent that the smiley face might not just be a taunting symbol, but a part of a broader, disturbing network that celebrated their crimes through ritualistic practices. Simultaneously, a journalist named Max Walker, who had been following the case for a documentary, received an anonymous tip that led him to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Chicago. Inside the warehouse, Max discovered a series of disturbing artifacts: elaborate paintings of smiley faces, dark ritualistic symbols, and photographs of the victims. The discovery of these items further confirmed the theory that the smiley faces were not mere coincidences but part of a twisted ritualistic pattern. The new evidence led to a series of high-profile arrests. Several individuals connected to Richard Green's network were taken into custody, and their interrogation revealed shocking details about their activities. They admitted to participating in ritualistic ceremonies where they would prey on vulnerable individuals and use the smiley face symbol as a way to mark their achievements. Some claimed that the network was responsible for a number of unsolved disappearances and drownings, although concrete evidence tying them to every case remained elusive. The arrests brought a sense of partial closure to the families of the victims and the public, but many questions remained unanswered. The full extent of the network's activities and the complete list of victims were still unclear. Investigators continued to piece together the connections, hoping to uncover more details about the remaining unknowns and prevent further tragedies. Claire Dawson and Max Walker, having played crucial roles in advancing the investigation, continued their work to ensure that the case remained in the spotlight. They collaborated with law enforcement to bring justice for the victims and worked on public awareness campaigns to warn others about the dangers of such secretive and dangerous networks. As of now, the mystery of the smiley face killers is far from over. While significant progress has been made, the full scope of the network's activities and the complete list of victims remain incomplete. The case serves as a haunting reminder of the dark undercurrents that can exist in society and the ongoing struggle to bring such nefarious activities to light. As 2024 progressed, the case of the smiley face killers continued to evolve, revealing new dimensions to the mystery. Despite the arrests and the shocking revelations about Richard Green's network, there were still unsettling gaps in the investigation. The fragmented nature of the evidence left many questions unanswered, and the network's full extent remained elusive. Claire Dawson, now working closely with the FBI, received an encrypted email from an anonymous source claiming to have crucial information about additional victims and potential members of the network. The email contained coordinates for a location in rural Pennsylvania, along with a cryptic message referencing the final chapter. Intrigued and cautious, Claire and a small team of investigators traveled to the coordinates. The location was an old, secluded farmhouse surrounded by dense woods. Inside the farmhouse, they discovered a hidden basement, which had been meticulously converted into a secretive meeting space. The walls were covered with disturbing art, including numerous variations of smiley face symbols and ritualistic diagrams. Among the artifacts found in the basement were detailed records of meetings, including lists of attendees and notes about various rituals performed. The records indicated that the network had been far larger and more organized than previously known, with members operating in different regions across the country. The discovery of these records led investigators to uncover additional names and potential leads. One particularly chilling find was a series of videotapes labeled with dates and names. When the tapes were examined, they revealed footage of ritualistic gatherings where masked individuals performed disturbing ceremonies. Some of these tapes showed what appeared to be reenactments of the crimes, suggesting that the network used the tapes both for their own twisted enjoyment and as a way to memorialize their actions. The evidence from the farmhouse led to a new wave of arrests. Law enforcement agencies across multiple states collaborated to round up individuals identified in the records and on the tapes. Several more members of the network were taken into custody, and their interrogations revealed further details about the group's operations, including how they selected their victims and the rituals they performed. One breakthrough came when a former member of the network, who had become disillusioned and sought to leave, agreed to cooperate with authorities. This informant provided crucial information about the network's hierarchy and inner workings. They revealed that the smiley face symbol was used not only as a taunt but as a mark of allegiance within the group, with each member required to contribute to the rituals to maintain their status. The informant also disclosed that the network had a specific ritual for graduating new members, which involved the abduction and ritualistic drowning of victims. This information helped investigators understand the pattern of the crimes and connect several previously unlinked deaths to the network's activities. Despite these developments, the case was far from resolved. The network's full reach remained unknown, and many victims' families still sought closure. The ongoing investigations aim to piece together the remaining fragments of the case and bring justice for those affected. As 2024 began, the case of the Smiley face killers had become a landmark in criminal investigation, drawing attention from both law enforcement and the public. The disturbing nature of the crimes, coupled with the chilling rituals and the widespread network, had left an indelible mark on those involved in the case. Claire Dawson and Max Walker continued their efforts to shed light on the remaining aspects of the case, working tirelessly to uncover more about the network and to support the victims' families. They also engaged in public awareness campaigns to educate people about the dangers of secretive and dangerous groups. While significant progress had been made, the full truth behind the Smiley face killers remained an open question. The case served as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface and the relentless pursuit of justice in the face of such pervasive and unsettling evil. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.